Okay, on the show I have as my guest Dennis Greaves. He's the frontman of 9 Below Zero. Good morning, Dennis.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm fabulous. Tell everybody, I mean, there'll be a few people out there who no idea who 9 Below Zero are.
Yeah, we're a little cult band from London and started out in the punk scene about 77, 78, playing the Thomas and Beckett in Old Kent Road.
Remember it?
All our mates were punks, and we were playing rhythm and blues. Rather fastly at that time, but we was into Muddy Waters and Sonny Boy Williamson, who eventually we changed our name to one of his songs, 9 Below Zero, which I got the idea from the Rolling Stones. They took that name from a Muddy Waters song.
Yeah, because you were called Stan's Blues Band before,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, what a terrible name.
Well, it's a big old name, isn't it?
Back onto the Beckett, and
Yeah.
I'd come straight out of school and just, play with a bunch of schoolmates, and didn't take it seriously until we thought, oh Christ, we're getting a buzz here.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd better get a proper name, up name.
It's interesting. I do a bit of stage work, like comparing, and it does give you a little bit of a rush, doesn't it? It's quite. But people either love it or hate it, and I think if you like it, it's almost addictive, actually, without going to too much. I know the Thomas and Beckett pub. Well, it's no longer there, is it?
It's there, but it's been a Thai restaurant. It's been all sorts of things over the years. Yes, it's still there, but
not as it was.
What it was. It's not open.
Oh, that's a shame. Because I remember my father taking me there in, blimey, must have been late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
When it was a boxing pub.
That's right.
I met the lady who was like the landlady at the time. I mean, she must have been about 105 then.
She was 110 then, yeah. Her name was Beryl.
I mean, she looked old. I mean, without being rude, that is rude, but she looked old then. And I remember my father's a Cockney. He took me around there. It was it must have been it was either 69, 70 or 71, somewhere around that sort of time. Yeah. And we went and had a look round, and he sort of showed me the real London, the gangster side of London.
That's right. Well, in that pub, you had villains. I mean, all my old schoolmates. You was either a boxer, villain, or a footballer. And I chose musicians. So I don't know where I fall in that category. But,
I don't know. Well, it was an interesting adventure. I mean, I was only about 10 at the time, so it was quite an interesting thing. But then you got signed up to A&M in 1980, didn't you? And you were all doing. But before that, you were doing day jobs, all of you. What did you do before you became a musician?
I worked with, what was it called, Manpower.
Oh yeah.
I signed up to Manpower, and they sent me out on various jobs. I'd arrive at a kitchen over the West End and have to clean about 50,000 pots and pans.
Oh, lovely
or
job.
Go to a warehouse and have to move boxes around. I just did anything. I signed on the dole as well, the great, the apprenticeship scheme of musicians. So I signed on the dole for a while so I could sit at home and learn to play the guitar. I did all sorts of work with my dad,
So who was your? I mean, before you got into music, who was your musical hero?
I suppose I always loved Eric Clapton and John Mayall and those guys.
Yeah.
They were my heroes. I remember hearing Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones. I just loved all that stuff. But what I found was the blues link. What drew me was the sound of the blues, with Hendrix and the Stones, and the Downliner sect and bands like this. I was drawn to the blues, and it was through my uncle's record collection actually, because I was slightly younger than them, and they had all the blues stuff. And at that time, everybody was into Bowie or T-Rex. I loved them, of course, but I didn't fall that way. Once I found the blues, something inside me really kicked off, and then I saw Dr. Feelgood on the old Grey Whistle test.
Yeah, oh yes, I remember.
Once I saw that, the next day I think I formed a band.
But a Milk and Alcohol with Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah. Earlier than that.
I know. I remember it. I remember them around as well. I was at college around the time of the punk era, and it was a revolution because there was. I've spoken to people about this before. There was the punks, then there was the band like yourself, and then we had people like Dire Straits.
Yes, we did Winnick. great. Elvis Costello.
Yeah, Elvis Costello. I mean, there were some very, very good musicians who are still, and you know, I mean, there was Fergal Sharkin. Last time I heard of him, he was the head of the Radio Authority.
Yes.
So I best not be too rude about him.
Oh, PPO or one.
Yeah,
one of them. Yeah,
he's a top man. But you went basically from in 1980. You signed to A&M.
Yes.
You gave up your day jobs,
yes.
and then you released your first album, Live at the Marquee.
Yes.
And you booked the Hammersmith Odeon.
Yep.
And for a headline gig, and the rest is basically history. You sold out, and then you were you were full-time musicians, absolutely amazing, and it's been quite a journey since 1980, hasn't it?
Absolutely, 35 years.
Don't.
I know. I played with Mark last night. Mark and I, the harmonica player, we did the duo show, and he turned 60 today. And I looked at him last night, and I thought, I've been sitting next to you for nearly 40 years, you know, but it seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
You know.
And yet there's other things that happened yesterday. You think they seem like years ago.
Oh, sorry, that's my dog. Hold on, Jimmy Greaves. His name is
Jimmy Greaves.
I wonder where I got that from.
I don't know.
Oh dear.
That's a good one. I mean, we'll talk about Tottenham later. I've got to talk about Tottenham, but we won't. Let's come a little bit on 80 from the 80s. I mean, you appeared on the old Grey Whistle Test.
Yes, we did. That was fantastic.
That must have been a great thing, because at the time that was the if you've made it, it's a bit like Jules Holland now. It's
about like the later show.
Yeah, if you made it, you're on the old Grey Whistle Test.
That's
and
right.
then if you sell a few records, then you suddenly appear on top of the Pops.
Yes.
And that's quite, so the old Grey Whistle Test was a fabulous show. I remember.
Oh, it was wonderful, wasn't it? I mean, again, when there was less things around, we used to sit and talk about it at school.
Yeah.
So, you go into school the next day, and everybody had seen it. Mm. And we probably also bought the records that were from the bands that were on there, you know.
Yeah, I think in many ways, I think if I remember correctly, I sat there one night and watched, I think it was Deep Purple on there in the very early years.
Did you? Yeah.
And I thought, wow, because I don't care, all these talent shows, there's all these, showcase shows, talent shows, call them what you like. Good talent will always rise to the top.
You like to think so?
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I mean, I must, not being a musician or a performer myself, I look around and I see people like Paul McCartney, who's and much yourself. You jobbed around doing gigs to get yourself into the limelight, rather than being on a TV show singing away and being thrust into the limelight, and then sort of be like a rabbit between two headlamps.
It's a lifestyle that you choose, and I've chosen a craft. You never master the guitar. You never master it. You're always finding something new and something to learn. And I love playing, and it's my job. I fortunately I never had a hit record in a sense. There's no expectation, and in the blues, it's a journeyman career. It's a journey.
But I mean, you might not have had a hit record, but you've had. I mean, you appeared in the first episode of The Young Ones.
Yeah, that's what I said. My first quote was like, we're a cult band.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's it. We've done the things that have been cool. And,
yeah, which is great. I mean, that must have been fun. I mean, I bet you didn't realise how big that was going to become, did you?
Never.
Yeah.
I think it was a pilot show that we did as well.
It was definitely the first episode,
and the full series after. But we arrived, and what looks chaotic on the telly, they were so together, so focused, so organised. And Ben Elton was the warm-up artist for the crowd, because it was played in front of a live audience. And I thought, well, who's this guy? We were at the beginning of alternative comedy, and it was a really great place to be.
I remember the times with Ben Elton and all those sort of people, and he used to do a show, was it Friday Night Live or something like that?
Yes, I remember it, yeah.
And he was Stavros with Harry Enfield. And it was basically what an extension of what they're doing now with people like TFI's back on again now and all that sort of thing. I mean, we mentioned Eric Clapton. In 1994, you got to join him at the Albert Hall.
That's right.
For 12 nights.
I know.
I mean, you must have been like a kid in a sweet shop. Must have thought it was Christmas.
I tell you what, I did that. I got the tube to the Albert Hall every day. I wanted to just make the most of it. So I got the tube to South Kent and I walked up. I had the park on the left and the gig standing in front of me. I just made sure that I didn't want to get a car there or drive there. I just wanted to experience going to work in a stupid sense, going to work at the Albert Hall and travelling on the tube and just soaking it and so occasionally getting a bus.
What was it like working with your idol? Sometimes they always say
petrifying. Yeah.
Was it?
I was in the dressing room with him. What do you say? Hello, mate. I think you're brilliant. You don't. That I always found out the same with Ray Davis. The first thing Ray and I connected with was football because he's Arsenal and I'm Tottenham, and it broke the ice because I never said to him, hello, mate. I Waterloo Sunset. How did you write that? You don't want to hear that.
No.
Although I want to know, but so. We spoke about Tottenham and Arsenal, and we were going to go to a few matches together, and they broke the ice, and then I was able to just be accepted and get in the inner circle.
Yeah, because
then ask him about did you write Autumn Almanac, what is that all about?
Well, there's a big show in London at the moment, isn't there?
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but it's going down the storm. I must try and get along to see it. I mean, you toured with Ray in 1994, including the Wembley Arena. And I mean, at the time, Wembley Arena was the place, wasn't it? It was the place to play.
I think we did. I did two or three tours with the Kinks, and I did Wembley Arena with Stranglers, 9 Below Zero, and the Kinks.
Wow.
And Dave and Ray had an argument, right? And I'll never forget it. They were backstage emailing each other in adjacent rooms.
They're like those teenage kids on the old texting, aren't they?
Murder.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you got invited by Mr. Brian May to play with his band.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I mean, there is another legendary music.
Yeah, what a lovely man. What a lovely man.
If you know him, I'd love to have him on the show. He's one of the guys I've been trying to get for the last 4 years.
You keep trying.
I will.
The thing with Brian, we'd hang around in the dressing room, and he's probably one of the greatest guitarists, ever. He's got his unique sound. He's got the tone. He's just wonderful as a guitarist. He's wonderful.
In fact, the closest I'm going to get to Brian May in about 3 weeks' time on the show, I've got Spike Edney, who is none other than the musical director of Queen.
Amazing.
So I've got him joining me on the show in a few weeks' time. So if Queen fans listen out for that, that's a great one. I think that's the closest I'm going to get to Brian for a little while. I never give up, and
you shouldn't. He and Robert Plant reminded me a lot of each other. When you're sitting in a room with Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin and Brian May, Queen, and there was no ego, and I thought that was so refreshing. There's more egos with the wannabes,
Yeah, I find that a lot.
Yeah,
I find that people like yourself and the great guys. I mean, recently I've had people like Brian Paul on the show, Tom Robinson on the show, and all those sort of people who've been around for a few years, and they're the nicest guys you ever like to meet. Get some of these ones off a certain TV show.
Yes.
Think they've made a few quid, and I'm going to be famous, and they're an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. And it's all about the music. I mean, you can sit and talk to Robert Plant about one of the rarest blues artists that you could imagine, and he will know all about him. Or if you go into the Celtic scene, folk scene, he'll know so much. And I like that about him. And Brian May, it was all about the music,
Yeah. I mean,
Brian loved us because we reminded him, as we did with Pete Townsend and Ray, we reminded them of when they